Hello everybody and welcome back to Redstone for Beginners, the tutorial series where we take you from the basic to the slightly more advanced. And in this episode, we're going to talk about item transportation. So let's start off with transporting items horizontally, in other words left to right or right to left, anything like that. You could do this very easily by chaining hoppers together. Now, the thing I'll mention is that with hoppers, you need to pay attention to the bottom part of it. You see this little spout here is pointing into this next hopper, and that indicates the items are going to go this way. So you can see the spouts are all facing the right direction for this little item pipe that we have here. And I've even added some comparators with some redstone lamps that we should see where the item is going. So if I, for example, place a redstone, an emerald block, I should say, in here, it will get passed into this chest here. One more time, there goes the emerald block, goes through each of the hoppers, back to this chest here. Now, you could even turn around corners using hoppers like this, providing you stay at the same level, providing you don't go up or down. I can place a chest here, for example. If I break this hopper and shift click hoppers into that chest, it will work in exactly the same way. So there goes the emerald block, and then it ends up in this chest like that. Now you can also move items down with hoppers very easily. All you have to do is chain them downwards, and if you notice the spout is pointing down, which means that's where the items are going to go. And just like our previous example, except now, if I place an emerald block in this chest, it will get transported to this chest over here. Now, the one thing I will say about the design is that if you need to transport items for quite a large distance downwards, let's say, this can be very expensive. Hoppers use 5 iron ingots, which is quite a lot. So one thing you can do, if you like, is alternate your hoppers with chests. So if I break this hopper and place a chest in instead, this design actually works in exactly the same way. So if I place my emerald block here, it goes to this chest over here. So it's a really nice way of saving iron with your hoppers. Now, each of these next designs use the auto dropper, and some of them use water as well to help you to transport items. Now, here all I've done is I've made a little glass tube here so that we can see what's going on inside. And at the bottom here, you see we have a hopper connected to a chest. And at the top here, we have this circuit right here connected to a dropper facing down. And I can tell the dropper is facing down because I could see the opening there. Now this is an auto dropper circuit which I showed you in the previous video, and if you haven't watched that, all that it basically does is if there's items in the dropper, it will start a redstone clock and spit those items out. Now this is a very good way of sending items downwards, and it means you don't have to use lots and lots of hoppers, which will save on your resources. So let's say I place in some emerald blocks here, it gets dropped out, collected into that hopper, and then it goes into this chest here. Okay, so to build this, first off we need a hopper into our output, so I'm going to shift click the back of this chest. Now we need to sort out the input, so here's my chest, so I'm going to shift click the bottom of it to place the hopper. I'm also going to need to shift click from the bottom to place our dropper so that it faces down, and I know it's facing down because the hole is at the bottom of the block. Now I'm going to create a glass tube that's going to go from this hopper to this dropper. Okay, now we need our auto dropper circuit, so I'm going to have to build a little bit of a platform here. I don't have to worry about the glass because we can place redstone on that. And by the way, you don't have to use glass for these, but I quite like glass because 1, you can open the chest, and 2, you can actually see the items move around. So remember, for our auto dropper, we need a redstone comparator here, going into a redstone repeater, another redstone repeater, into a block next to the dropper so that it can turn off and on, and then redstone dust around here. Now remember, this part of the circuit is the redstone clock, and this part of the circuit will activate the dropper on and off, and then you're good to go. So if I place an item in here, it will spit it out into that hopper, and I can collect it like that. Now we're going to use the auto dropper again, but this time we're sending items horizontally again. But instead of using lots and lots of hoppers, which is quite resource heavy and will see you needing a lot of iron, we are letting water do all the hard work for us. So similar to our previous design, we've got our dropper facing down. It's being fed from this hopper and by this chest, and we've got an auto dropper circuit here again. Now that's going to put the items into this water source, which is flowing left to right. Now, water sources don't flow forever, they only last 8 blocks. And after those 8 blocks, as you can see here, I've put some compressed ice down and a sign. Now, the sign is to stop the water source here from flowing backwards, and the compressed ice is to make sure that the items, once they get to this block, do not get stuck, and they will go directly to the next water source. And you can chain these together as much as you want. So if I need to send the items further, I could just place another compressed ice, another sign, and another water source. And as you can see, it's going into this hopper here, which is feeding into this chest. So let's try this out. Let's put some emerald blocks in this chest. You see the auto dropper is working. The emerald blocks get spat out. They go down the water sources into the hopper and into the chest, just like that. Okay, so to build this one, I've already made a little channel for the water to flow. Again, I've made this out of glass, but this can be any block that you want, providing you're keeping the water in. So, first off, let's deal with our input. So I've got our chest here. Now I need to shift underneath it and click, right click, so that I can place a hopper. And I need to place the dropper next, which means I need to break a few blocks underneath here like that. And shift right click, you can see it's facing downwards. Now if I place the dropper like this, for example, I know it's wrong because it's facing the wrong way. It needs to be facing down as the water. So let's fix that right now. So next up, we need our water streams. So let's get some of the blocks I need into my inventory. So first off, you need a water source underneath the dropper like that. Now, water source does not flow forever. It flows for 8 blocks, and you can see it reaches up to here. Now, I'm going to place some compressed ice here. Compressed ice because it doesn't melt. You can use blue ice as well if you want. And I'm going to place a sign on this same block. Obviously, you don't need anything on it. So that when I place this second water source, it doesn't flow backwards, and the items will not get stuck. Next up, I need the circuitry for the auto dropper here. So again, I need to build a little platform out, and this is exactly the same as what we've done before. So redstone comparator to a redstone repeater to a block next to the dropper, and connect these up with redstone. Remember, I did cover this in the previous video, redstone clocks. So if this bit's confusing you, you should definitely check that out first. And finally, I need my outputs. So I have a chest here, and then a hopper connected to that chest. Remember, I need to shift right click, and I can tell it's pointing into the chest if I check the spout like that. Let's place a glass block above that chest as well, so the items don't overshoot the hopper. And then we should have a functioning little item canal like that, and all the items can be transferred very easily into different chests. And remember, this can change direction, this can go around corners, anything you decide to do, providing you reset the water streams with a sign, a block of ice, and then a new water source. Now, in terms of moving items upwards, now there's one very easy way of doing this thanks to a mechanic that was introduced in 1.13. And that is, if you've got a solid column of water underneath a block of soul sand, it will create bubble columns that will travel up. You can see the bubble particles there. And that will transport anything that's in the water, including items, all the way up. So I have yet another auto dropper here being fed by this hopper. The only difference is it's pointing to the side into this bottom water source here, as you can see. And then I've got a solid water column going all the way to the top, and it flows one block over into this hopper and hopefully the items should collect in this chest right here. So let's try this out. As you can see, it's being fed through this chest here. So let's put some emerald blocks here. And as you can see, the items, as soon as they get put into that water source, they get shot straight up into that hopper, and then I can collect them like that. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit more complicated. I've already made a little glass tube for me. This is just a hollow tube which the water can go up, and I've got a little opening at the top as well. So let's get my output out of the way. So if I place a chest here, temporary like these, and then shift right click a hopper like that. Now this is where the items are going to go in. Now remember, I've made this little column one block higher than it needs to, because the water needs to flow over this hopper, and I also need to cover it up with this glass block here, otherwise the items will just shoot over the hopper. Now if you notice, I've actually put a sand block at the bottom of this little tube containing the water here. Now that's very important. I'll explain to you why we need that a little bit later. But for now, let's get our input sorted. So if I place a dropper here, and remember it's facing where the water is going to be, so that's placed correctly. And I need to supply that with items after all, because that's going to be our input. Now, you would think that I could shift right click and place hopper in like that, but that actually doesn't give me anywhere to put the circuitry for our auto dropper. So instead, I'm going to shift click the top, so the items can go in like that. Shift click this hopper as well, and then place a chest on top of that. Now that's an easy way for our items to get in. Now we need the circuitry for the auto dropper. So if I place a comparator here, a redstone repeater, another redstone repeater. Now this needs to be a solid block other than glass, so let's use smooth stone and connect it up with redstone. So there is our auto dropper, done and dusted. Now the final thing we need is the water column. Now there's a few things you need to do for this. For instance, I cannot just place a water source at the top like that, because when I place the soul sand down, it will not create the bubble column that we need. Instead, we need to make sure that each of these blocks are a water source. Now, there's an easy way to do this in survival. I mean, I know I am creative. I need some kelp for this. And this is also why I needed that sand block at the bottom. So all I'm going to do is go to the bottom, and I'm going to place kelp all along the middle of this glass tube. And then when I break the kelp, I have a water source block in each of these block spaces instead of a flowing water block. Now, if I replace this with soul sand, this sand block here, you see straight away I got pushed right to the top. So that confirms that that is now working. Now, I'd better cover this up, otherwise the items will fly out the top instead of into the hopper, which we don't want. And this should work just fine. So if I place 10 emerald blocks in here, there they go, up to the top, into the hopper, and into our chest, like that. And that brings us to the end of another episode. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed or if you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.